Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Moscow Mitch Monday. We are your Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, and we are very excited tonight to be with you. We've got some wonderful stuff lined up to share with you. Folks, 8 days until we find out whether the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee did its job. And that is truly terrifying. I'm very excited. I think things are going in the right direction. I think trends are in the right direction for us. But I tell you what, man, I really hope everyone is committed as committed as I am to do everything we possibly can in these this final week to get rid of Mitch McConnell, because man, he reminds us each and every day just how horrible he is. And we've got all sorts of stuff today we're going to talk about that reminds us again, underscores again, just how inappropriate this individual is for the seat of power he currently occupies. So the show for today, we're of course doing Mitch in the news. Very big news right now. Mitch's kind of most important accomplishment is happening as we speak on the Senate floor. We've got Doug following Mitch's money. We've got our guest of Josh Hicks. We're very excited to have candidate Josh Hicks with us tonight. Although, to be perfectly honest and transparent, we did record him ahead of time, so he's not live with us tonight. But if you kind of fake it, you'll feel like it's live. But no, it's a great conversation that we had. Kimberly and I had with him. He is, of course, running against Lion Andy Big Bank Barr here in the Kentucky 6th District. We got a campaigns corner. Super excited about. We have Chris Tallent with Hazmat America joining us to talk about a really cool protest that they're doing tomorrow in Louisville and one they've been doing across the country. We've got updates on our campaigns to help ditch Mitch on November 3rd. So our 5K for KY campaign with our organizing chair, Kit O'Connor, which this will actually be their second appearance in the show. So you'll be seeing Kit earlier. And then we've got, our See a Senator Saturday Safe SCOTUS demonstration, which we're doing on Saturday. We really want to talk about that too. So again, 8 days to go until November 3rd. 1 week to have an impact on this race. Do everything you can. If you want to donate right now, you can. We have got some special things we want to spend money on. And if you give us money, we'll have money. That's how donations work. And then that'll fuel the activism that we are so excited about. But, remember, we got to remind Kentucky voters in this final push that Mitch does not care about you, of course, unless you're a young conservative judge. Again, take action every day, people. We're going to close the episode with, what you should be doing, helping you schedule your next week. And I'm excited about the crew we've got assembled to do this with us, folks, today. So let us know who you are, where you are coming from, and what does your protest sign say today. So again, I'm Aaron. My sign says, "Save our Commonwealth, ditch Mitch." And I am here in Lexington in the Childsburg subdivision, where they are very serious about your yard signs, and they can only go up 30 days before the election, or they'll send you a very nasty letter about it. So just know that, people. All right, Kimberly, you there? Are you muted?
I'm here today, Aaron. And I just want to let you know what my sign says. I love jewelry, and I have on the money signs today. So my protest sign says today, Mitch didn't give us any money, but somebody else will.
Mitch didn't have our money. I like that bling.
Mitch better have my money.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Kimberly. Nate and or Kit.
And or Kit. Hey, there's Kit and Addie, the Wonder Pup, and Nate Orshan, broadcasting live from our beautiful home here in South Frankfort, Kentucky. And today my sign's going to say, "Hey, Mitch, you've run out of time to help Kentucky. #vote Amy."
Kit, what's your sign say?
My sign takes you one step up, Aaron, and doesn't say save our Commonwealth. It says save our freaking country. Ditch Mitch. Because this is all hands on deck. Red alert. Ditch Mitch.
Amen. Hey, so remember just moments ago, when I said you should donate some money to us? So here's why I was saying that. I am very excited because we're our first kind of ad type production that we've done. You know, we do a video stream every week. We cut that up in these short takes, but we decided we wanted to do a specific, minute ad that we could then share on the interwebs. And I'm really excited about it. Ken put it together, of course, did a great job with it. We're going to go ahead and play it right now so you can watch it.
The House passed a bill in May, and the Senate went on vacation. I mean, you just don't do that.
When Amy McGrath told Mitch that Kentucky needed a COVID relief bill more than the Senate needed a vacation, Mitch just laughed.
You just don't do that.
Despite 8 million Americans sliding into poverty due to his inaction.
It is a national crisis.
Despite Kentuckians desperately needing aid to survive this crisis.
It's irresponsible.
Senator McConnell.
The idea that he would help us is funny.
If you want to call yourself a leader, you got to get things done.
Do you know what else Mitch thinks is funny? Raising the minimum wage, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, acting on climate change, protecting Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Between now and November 3rd, we can end Mitch's evil laugh. It's time for a change, Kentucky. Make your plan and vote.
So there it is. There's our ad. Thank you, Indivisible. Just approved our political spending so we can actually put it out there on Facebook. But we can spend a lot more. We can put it on YouTube. We could spend money all sorts of places if you like it and if you want to give us some money. So go to our ActBlue account, make a secure donation so we can get the eyeballs to see that Mitch thinks it's funny that he has failed to pass a coronavirus relief bill with 223,000 people dead. And we raised a few other points in there, things I thought also were not funny. That Mitch has brought to us. The one thing that I want to just point out, and this was actually, it came up in the debate, the second debate with the president, where he kind of proudly said he didn't support raising the minimum wage, right? There's literally no more popular policy in America than raising the federal minimum wage. Yet, even though like 80% of the public supports it, the Republicans just won't do it. Mitch, we know, has voted at least 15 times against it directly. But of course, since he's been the majority leader in the Senate, there have been no votes on raising the minimum wage because he will not bring a vote to raise the minimum wage. So anyone who's like struggling at a not very good paying job, and thinks, man, it'd be nice to have a living wage, where I could actually afford to pay my rent with just the one job, that's Mitch McConnell stopping that from happening. And I bet if we brought it up, he'd laugh at that too. If you think 223,000 people dying and you are failing to give them any sort of relief to the kind of economic fallout, if you think that's funny, I bet, all these other things are funny too. So we elevated a few other issues. I don't know, Nate or Kimberly, if you wanted to kind of lay out any of those issues, put you on the spot a little bit. Anything you saw in that ad that you think are worth underscoring to our viewing audience?
I mean, apart from the fact that he's, completely heartless and doesn't relate to Kentuckians as actual human beings, can't think of anything.
No, nothing beyond that. Nope. All right. How about you, Kimberly?
Well, I like it. It shows Mitch for exactly who he is and who he's going to continue to be. But we just hope that people are doing their homework. And if they're not doing their homework, this right here will show them exactly who he is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I don't think people do a lot of homework, right? I mean, I struggle with my 6-year-old and my 13-year-old. They just don't want to do it, right? And they kind of have to. They're going to get graded, and we don't as adults, as voters, you don't really have to do your homework. No one's going to grade you on your democracy or your civics, unfortunately. So people just kind of slide through, and I get it. Life's hectic, and there's a lot of things I'd rather spend my time on. There's always some sports ball game you could watch. If all you're seeing are attack ads, because that's mostly what people spend their money on, are attack ads, especially if you're Mitch McConnell. That's all you spend your money on is attack ads, because you can't convince anyone that you're likable. All you can do is convince people that your opponent is also unlikable, right? So that's what he does. But this actually shows how unlikable Mitch is. I think you do it pretty well. I think the policies we underscore are critically important policies. So the fact that Mitch will not allow a COVID relief bill, right? In fact, told a closed door meeting of all his Senate caucus to say we should not support another relief bill before the election, right? That's his approach. Whereas the Democrats are like, no, let's do something, even though they know politically, if they do something, it doesn't help the Democrats, right? It doesn't, because, it removes a lot of the pressure to go to the Democrats. Like, oh, we got this big, But I was listening to Governor Beshear today, and, the CARES Act that Mitch is so damn proud of that he won't shut up about it. Like every time he's on the news, he's talking about his CARES Act, right? That expires at the end of the year. And if they do not queue up additional funding, all the things the CARES Act has been funding, which is significant, goes away. And a lot of the things that are very critical have not been funded at the level that they need to be, like the unemployment insurance and things beyond that, renters insurance, restaurants, live venues, that are kind of struggling right now. All this stuff that could be funded isn't being funded, but the things that the CARES Act does do go away at the end of the year. So no, it should not be an election year issue. It should be the right thing to do. And Mitch is standing in the way of that, of course. So anyway, so I like the ad. I hope everyone else does too. And it does mention climate change, which I think is really critically important. It mentions, because of course, Mitch will stop anything on climate change. It mentions the kind of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid cuts that he has said that he wants to look at, these and cut some of these programs because, we're cash strapped now. So I'll, know what you're voting for, people. All right. So speaking of knowing what you're voting for, let's go to Mitch in the news. So Mitch is in the news. He's in the news every single week because he's always in the middle of stories. And I think Kimberly's got the big story of the day for Mitch in the news.
Well, Mitch has done it again, and we're not very surprised. He's officially a thief. He has stolen his second Supreme Court seat, likely remaking SCOTUS for a generation. Amy Coney Barrett, she's going to get in. We're just waiting now when the Senate is going to actually vote for her. And I will say this, he's very, very hypocritical. Because we remember back in 2016 when he would not allow Merrick Garland in. And we as Democrats, we were so gracious and kind and wonderful people that showed that we had a moral compass. But of course, Mitch McConnell, being the evil Grim Reaper that he is, has shown us the evilness of his power by even allowing a nominee to come in so close to the election. So I'm just saying to myself, it's all about the money. And I think that's my little sidebar theme tonight. It's all about the money. He's a hustler. If you've seen the movie Hustlers and you know the song by Cardi B, money. That's all Mitch McConnell is about, money. Not you, not me, not anyone.
Yeah.
What do you think? Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I mean, don't get me started, right? So I just want to send this episode here out to my dear friend Ren, who died 2 years ago. She was a proud LGBTQ person and supporter. And, you know, in a way, this is awkward to say, but I'm kind of glad she's not watching this. Recently, Justices Alito and Thomas said, you know, basically called same-sex marriage into question. Now we have Amy Coney Barrett possibly on the seat. And, you know, she has refused to say whether Obergefell and Hodges was decided correctly. And if you remember, that was a 2015 SCOTUS decision that same-sex couples should have the right to marry. She refused to say whether or not Lawrence versus Texas was decided correctly. And that was the decision that decriminalized homosexual intimacy. Two people in love. She refuses to say if that was decided correctly. She refuses to denounce writings and statements that basically would result in systematic regression of LGBTQ rights. And now she is on the highest seat in the land. And, you know, the thing is that the SCOTUS has decided so much around LGBTQ and whether it's discrimination or same-sex marriage or whatever, it's been really notable for whether or not we advance in that or not. And there's a case coming up the day after Election Day. So that's next Wednesday, Fulton versus Philadelphia, that will decide whether or not adoption agencies can discriminate against LGBTQ couples, right? And that actually is a much broader decision than we think, because that's also, can taxpayer-funded organizations discriminate against LGBTQ folk? So right now, I'll be honest, I'm petrified, because all these rights that we have worked so hard for are in front of us again. So we think we get 10 steps forward and then we're thrust back. So this is like an appalling abomination. I don't give a damn what religion you are. Stay the hell away from me and my family. And how you decide family is how you decide it. How Mitch decides it is how Mitch decides it. But family is family. And the people that have been there for me and have been there for the people I care about, stay away from them. I'm on fire. Love, Kit.
Aaron, can I add something as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Also, Kit, we ought to be petrified. Audience, we ought to be petrified, because on November the 10th, it comes up about the Affordable Care Act,
of course,
which we most of us know it as Obamacare. Let's talk about Roe versus Wade, a woman to have the rights over her body. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about workers' rights. Let's talk about the environment. Just basic human rights.
Right.
All of that is on the ballot, and all of that is up right now. So we need to be petrified.
Things that we've taken for granted, things that we think we should be able to take for granted, are on the ballot right now. And what's happening, and what I'm afraid of, is people will suddenly say, oh, wait, what happened to that? And not pay attention to what led up to that happening, right? We're not paying attention. And the next thing you know, those rights are taken away. Most people are in support of same-sex marriage. Most people are in support of women's right to choose. That's most people. Are they going to wake up suddenly and say, oh, wow, where did that go? Take action now, people, because we got one chance. And let's hope it's not too late.
Yeah, I mean, look, the vote hasn't officially happened yet. I keep refreshing, my Washington Post, homepage, but it's going to happen. Like, there's nothing the Democrats can do to stop this from happening. She is going to be on the Supreme Court. It is going to be a very conservative majority, and with some pretty young justices. Really, all of Trump's appointments have been pretty young. And what does that mean? I mean, for me, it comes to a lot of this work from the environmental perspective. She set a new low in terms of answering questions about climate change, right? She wouldn't even acknowledge the science of climate change, right? Which all these other jokers that came before her, Trump's other appointments, all at least said, yeah, of course, that's science, it's real, so, because that's usually, serious people end up judges, right? Mm-hmm. And serious people don't traffic in QAnon. They don't traffic in climate denial, because that's a joke, right? It's a literal joke, and it's our society's like the punchline, I guess. But she and a little bit of her backstory. She grew up outside of New Orleans in a town called Metairie, which was this first kind of white flight suburb. Once the schools were integrated, all the affluent white people fled and started up private schools and Catholic schools, so they didn't have to have their kids go to school with black kids. And so she grew up in that enclave, and her dad was a Shell attorney because Shell has a big, huge office in New Orleans. And so that guy's job, her livelihood, her childhood, all the position of privilege that she clearly enjoys was all funded by oil industry money. So that, when I heard her answer, it all kind of clicked to me because she sounded like, an oil executive. I'm sure her father was very proud of her answers about, the unsettled science of climate change and, the controversial issue of climate change. There's no controversy. It's not the goddamn, Santa Claus. It doesn't matter if you believe in climate change. It is real. It is happening, and we are watching its impact. But the Supreme Court has an incredible influence on climate action. A case, Massachusetts versus the EPA, is the reason the EPA has been forced to regulate carbon as a pollutant. And that is something that I'm sure the right wing would love to re-examine. As we mentioned earlier, one of the issues that Mitch thinks is funny is the idea of acting on climate change, right? So if you think about it, if Mitch gets his way, this court will be just like his Senate. And all the issues we have just talked about and how important they are, they will not go anywhere in the Supreme Court, right? And it should be terrifying because one of the issues Kit mentioned, gay marriage, right? Gay marriage was not on the legislative calendar. There was we have not even passed a federal non-discrimination act. It is still legal for people to sue people or to not hire people because of their sexuality, right? There's not a clear legal mandate to make that illegal because we can't pass it because our democracy is so broken. But the Supreme Court decided that actually love is love, and everyone should be able to get married. And if we had waited for that to pass, that would never happen. We are not going to be able to get that bill passed, Mitch F. McConnell. So again, this is a huge issue. We talk about it a lot on this show because I feel like people don't understand how important this is. And so when people talk about, well, they're going to try to pack the Supreme Court or whatever, pack the courts. Nope, that already happened. Mitch has now stolen 2 seats. Right. So he stole Merrick Garland's seat. He has now stolen another seat and he has reshaped the court. It is infuriating, makes me want to throw things, but it is what it is. All right. So that's the big story right now. It is happening as we speak. By the end of the night, we might have the official word that it's happened. There's another big story that we need to touch on about Mitch McConnell. It is far less, I don't know, important, but it has taken the internet by storm, and Nate has it for us.
Yep, I was muted. Thanks, Aaron. So content alert, scary looking hands. So Mitch was photographed a few times over the past week with what appear to be swollen and exceedingly bruised hands, especially his right one. It's hard to look at the pictures and not think, what the Hickman County is going on here? Of course, Mitch has refused to say what's going on, leading to a fair amount of chatter, and my dog is chattering in the background too, so she's kind of adding to the chaos over here. So let's wade out into this sea of speculation and make our way over to 2 of my own pet theories. And the following is me speaking metaphorically, not literally. Okay. So my first theory, that bruising is from keeping his hands around democracy's neck, trying to strangle it with judges that will only support an extremist agenda that caters to the rich and to big business. Remember, district judges, federal circuit judges, and Supreme Court justices are all lifetime appointments. And whenever we get a radical right-winger approved, it's almost impossible to get them out. So for the rest of their tenure on the bench, they are going to do damage to us all by ruling based on their extremist ideology instead of how they should rule based on reasonable interpretation of the law and judicial precedent. Now, it shouldn't surprise you to learn that the majority of voters actually oppose many of the extremist positions of the Republican Party. You've heard about this earlier tonight. So the only way that Mitch and his party can try to lock in some of their unpopular and unjust policies is by locking in lifetime extremist judges. And that's why I say, with Mitch spending so much time with his hands around the windpipe of democracy, trying to strangle the very life out of it, you can see how that might lead to a lot of bruising. But step forward, my dear friends, and please listen to what I really think is going on with those swollen hands. Those hands have turned purple with shame. Yes, Mitch's hands have kept silent for so long that they're finally up and changing color with embarrassment at being attached to such a freaking hypocrite. Exhibit A. Mitch, who when he began his career as a senator took a vow that he would support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, keeps doing things over and over and over again that support Russian interests. And to this day, he refuses to discuss or take actions on the Russian misinformation campaigns in this year's election, unquote. That is something pretty shameful. Exhibit B. From declaring that he wanted to make Obama a one-term president, to his zeal at denying him a clean victory, to all of the blocking of his judicial nominees, there is something really, really pungent about Mitch's opposition to our country's first Black president. If Mitch thinks of himself as an open-minded, tolerant guy, his persistent political hostility to Barack Obama tells another story. And here it comes, Exhibit C. Mitch likes to claim he's done so much for the bluegrass, but meanwhile, over all the years and the decades that he's been our senator, the evidence of his party's hostility to the working class and to the poor is as crystal clear as all these metrics that show just how bad off we are regarding poverty and education and health outcomes. Mitch is the standard bearer for a party that just doesn't have any grown-up policies for helping people who need help the most. And the bluegrass is living the result of that neglect. He doesn't express any shame in public, right? So his hands are doing all the talking for his conscience, turning purple with embarrassment over Mitch's decades of uselessness and disrespect for us. You want to know about Mitch's morality? Talk to the hands, because they know, and they're telling us a story about how Mitch's integrity has died and is rotting inside him. From Moscow, Mitch Monday, I'm Nate Orshan.
Wow. So those are some, I had not heard those theories about his hands on Twitter. I like all of those. But I also saw, oh no, Amy's been hunting Horcruxes and found one, which I don't think actually gets it right in the book. If you're a real Harry Potter geek, you'll know that's not exactly right. The other one that I saw that I thought was pretty good, given the fact that Mitch has been, blocking the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, is that, hey, look, if Mitch's hands get any blacker, he won't let himself vote. But that was Twitter. I didn't, just repeating things I see on Twitter. At any rate, thank you for that, Mitt. That Mitch story about his mitts, Nate. All right, so this is one more story of Mitch in the news. Addie's looking comfortable there on your shoulder. This is more of a kind of throwback because honestly, this is not ripped from the headlines. This is a piece that was done, I think, a year ago, over a year ago, 2019, and I think it was like July. So this is NPR's Embedded, and if you have not heard this series, if you've missed this, you should check it out because it does an amazing job. It's a 5-episode series that's the deepest of dives into Mitch McConnell, his political history, kind of how he first got elected in this kind of Democrat-dominated Louisville, how he beat a popular incumbent senator statewide in 1984, foisting his horrible self on us statewide, how he's taken our nation in the wrong direction, his money-fueled defense of the tobacco industry, their lies. He supported their lies. He supported their lobbyists, his, face-offs with John McCain over that. This very clear shakedown where you see him demanding money, soft money from the tobacco industry to keep Republican senators on their side, as it became more and more clear that their product was killing people. His face-offs with Senator John McCain about campaign finance reform, in which basically Senator McCain calls Mitch corrupt on the floor of the U.S. Senate. It is incredibly powerful, the exchange that those two had. Ultimately, McCain wins. They pass McCain-Feingold, which is the nation's preeminent campaign finance reform law. But then, kind of last laugh really goes to Mitch, because Citizens United, the Citizens United case, turns into a rematch over McCain-Feingold. Mitch actually requests that his attorney be allowed to take a role in arguing the case. So Citizens United is about this horrible, documentary film about Senator Clinton. She's running for president. It's this right-wing kind of smear attack, and they were supposed to release their donors because it was a campaign finance violation, and so they take it to the Supreme Court, and as we all know, famously know, Citizens United was decided kind of against campaign finance reform and against transparency. And so when they win, the kind of nonprofit leader, the leader of that nonprofit, thanks Mitch. The first person he thanks when they win that Supreme Court case is Mitch. So the court then rips McCain-Feingold apart, and now we've got unlimited dark money, legalized bribery in our campaign financing system. That's just some of the stories that Embedded goes into depth on, but stuff I had totally either didn't know or had forgotten about Mitch. It is really, really compelling. Well done. Again, 5-part episode, 5-episode series. Check it out. So you can be, again, in this final 8 days, if you need additional motivation about getting rid of Mitch, listen to Embedded. It is eye-opening stuff. All right, so that's Mitch in the news. Thank you so much for joining us on it. We are now turning to our segment, Campaigns Corner. This is really exciting. We have got with us Chris Tallent, who is from Toxic America. I think that's right. Nope, Hazmat America. And Chris is joining us from Louisville, where they have got an event they're doing tomorrow that he's going to tell us all about. Chris, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
There we go. Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for having me on. It is an honor to be here. I think I completely agree with everything you guys have said, with the possible exception that the idea that Mitch McConnell has the capacity to feel any ounce of shame, which I'm not so sure about that. But thank you guys so much. I am the campaign director of Hazmat America, not yet Toxic America. If Mitch were to completely get his way, it would be Toxic America. But we are really excited to be here. We're on a national tour to call out Mitch McConnell and his Republicans in the Senate, who are blocking every single reform that our country and regular people desperately needs. There's a million different things that I could talk about, but I think 2 things in particular stand out if you really want to understand Mitch. When he wants to get something done in his capacity as majority leader, he gets it done. When he wanted to pass tax cuts for his wealthy donors and big corporations, he made sure that he gets it done. But when the Democrats won the House and passed the For the People Act that included every democracy reform our country needs that would end the undue influence of big money in our democracy, Mitch made it abundantly clear that that would go nowhere in his Senate. So I think it's just completely obvious who Mitch is. We are on a tour to expose and raise up the worst of the worst, most corrupt senators in America, so that we can make the message as clear and dramatic as possible to voters in America in the final days before the election, traveling the country with our America's only superhero for democracy, Cleanup Carl, in these final days, so that we can get people's attention to vote Mitch and his corrupt senators out of office so we can pass the reforms that our country desperately needs.
Woo. All right. That is great. I didn't even get to ask you a question. So wait, what's your protest sign say today, Chris? We have to ask all our guests, what does the protest sign say today? He's got one. He's ready.
We got Mitch McConnell sold your future to his donors, which
Yeah. Hard to argue. Hard to argue with that. That is absolutely accurate. Fantastic. All right. And then, so this is happening tomorrow in Louisville. Yeah. Where should people go if they want to help out and show up?
So we are extremely, extremely honored to be able to join folks at Injustice Square, where all the demonstrations have been happening, and to raise up the voices of all the ways that McConnell's corruption has affected and continues to affect the most marginalized communities. And we will be there at 12:30. Really looking forward to it. Cannot wait. So if you are able to, and if you want to help us lift up that message, just join us out of the square at 12:30 tomorrow. I think it's going to be really great.
Awesome. Kimberly, any final questions for Chris?
Okay, I'm off mute. So tomorrow, what are some of the things that we can look forward to, Mr. Chris Tallent?
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Tomorrow is going to be very exciting. We will, in the clearest, most dramatic, most in-your-face, eye-catching terms possible, put out the message exposing Mitch's corruption so that everybody, in the crucial days before the election, there is absolutely positively no mistaking what this election is all about. Mitch's big money donors and big corporations pretty much versus everyone. And that is what this is about. Mitch only cares about one thing, which is big money, only cares about one thing, which is corporate profits, only cares about his wealthy donors. So tomorrow we will be present with Cleanup Carl to make our message as loud and as in your face as possible. And man, we are so excited and again, honored to be joined by a great group of folks. I know there's going to be people, some folks doing spoken word poetry with a message, a very special message about Mitch. There's going to be other speakers. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening, and we're just going to be as energetic, and Kimberly is going to be there too. And we'll be as energetic and in your face as possible to get our message out. And so, I mean, we can't wait. We can't wait.
That's so awesome. Cool. I'm so glad you guys are doing that. I just think, more and more people need to understand what Mitch is all about, and you guys have nailed it. That's so cool. All right. Well, thanks so much for being with us, Chris. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. We have now got our call to action. And for that call to action, we are welcoming again, organizing chair, Kit O'Connor.
Yep. Here I am. And Chris, thanks so much. Thanks for your fire. Thanks for your energy. Thanks for being here. And thanks for what you're doing. So you know what, for our call to action, I'm just going to pause for a minute because I am going to ask you one question. Do you think you have done all you can do this election cycle to get your needs met, to ditch Mitch? Answer that for yourself. And if you have, then yay, you're amazing. Pat yourself on the back and move on. If you have not, I am here to say one more time, it is time to take action. There is no more time to dawdle. Now is the time, and I am calling on you to do that. We have a lot of different opportunities. If you're in Franklin County, Kentucky, we're going to be dropping lit. If you want to do lit drop, social distance, wearing a mask, hit us up, put it in the chat. We will connect you. Saturday is your last opportunity to join us for our See a Senator Save SCOTUS Saturday, where we meet at 3 o'clock to 4:30 at Harrodsburg Road in Lexington at the corner of Harrodsburg and Corporate, which is right outside Mitch's office. Funny. It's on Corporate Drive. Go figure. It's like he is making fun of himself somehow. It is your chance to join us. We are socially distanced. We are masked. We can provide you with a sign, or you can bring one. You can sit in a chair if you cannot stand. You can honk in the parking lot if you cannot stand or sit in a chair. Whatever it takes, I am urging you to get yourself out there, because this is your chance to show the country that we do not stand with Mitch McConnell. Join us. That's all I'm going to say. Love it.
All you're going to say? Can I add a few things then? It's a special one. Our final
oh, no, let me
election.
I meant to say it.
Okay.
Here it is right here. Let me say that. I meant to, but I was too on fire with my shaming. Listen, Mike Breuer will be there and Reggie Thomas will be there. We are not there alone. We are trying to get more people out. So be there with us. And Mike Breuer, who ran for the Democratic nomination, against Amy McGrath and Charles Booker. And then Reggie Thomas will be there. Join us. Now you can fill in the blanks.
Well, there are fewer blanks now. So thank you so much, Kit. So do it. And not only show up, but, text a few friends to come with you. We should have, an overwhelming number of signs. We want to handle all four sides of that intersection with a big final F you to Mitch as people are heading into their voting opportunities. And it's a lot of fun. We do some chanting. We get a lot of horn honks, a lot of waving. Mostly waving is with all the fingers. Not all of it.
We get some with our fingers, but we mostly get honks in our favor. And I will even chant my favorite chants. I'll get you going on them. Like, I will make a fool and dance on my head if I need be, but you need to show up.
All right. Yeah. Mike's going to be there. Everyone loves Mike. Reggie's going to be there. Senator Thomas. Everyone loves Senator Thomas. Reggie's awesome.
I love Reggie.
Really.
Yeah.
We're just going to line up a lot of people that ran against Amy to come out, because actually Reggie ran against Amy in her first primary, and then Mike ran against her in her second primary. So at any rate.
Can I say something about that for just a second? I absolutely love that. Like, if you lose and you show up for the person who is then that you lost to, that really shows a lot about your character. And it actually shows so much love for the Commonwealth of Kentucky that you're like, okay, I'm setting my ego aside and I'm getting my butt out there and I am standing with the nominee. How powerful a message is that? I mean, you know me, I'm all about symbol.
Yeah, no, we should actually ask Jim Gray if he can come out. I was on a fundraiser for Josh Hicks, and Jim Gray was there.
Yeah.
Jim, who'd run for that seat as well. Anyway, so hey, let's go to our next segment, shall we? Let's transition on to our next segment, which of course is Doug Price, our man from Cynthiana, who's done the research, the deep dives, letting us know about Mitch's money and how it's influencing policy. And Doug is asking the question: is Mitch Kentucky tough? Let's get that answer.
I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route.
Tonight's Following Mitch's Money is titled, Is Mitch Kentucky Tough? You probably have noticed Mitch's campaign signs have the words Kentucky Tough, an apparent reference that Mitch is one of us. This is the Mitch who has a net worth exceeding $45 million, lives in a $1.2 million home in Washington, D.C., has a $750,000 home in Kentucky, has an annual salary exceeding $190,000, and is a native of Alabama. What is Kentucky tough? I think it means resilient as opposed to unyielding or inflexible. Kentuckians deserve someone who is willing to listen to both sides. Here's a bill that most Kentuckians would think makes sense. H.R. 1 for the People Act, an anti-corruption measure, as well as enhanced rules and guidelines to increase voter participation. It is laying on Mitch's desk. When I Googled, what is Kentucky tough, one of the first references that came up was Mitch calling, at that time, Supreme Court Justice nominee Brett Kavanaugh Kentucky tough. I decided I needed to do more research since Judge Kavanaugh is not even from Kentucky. My opinion of Kentucky tough is Kentucky families struggling through the pandemic while Mitch refuses to consider additional aid for unemployment benefits, for state and local governments, and other much-needed help to even survive. 32% of Kentucky adults told the census in September that they are having difficulty covering usual household expenses like food, rent or mortgage, and medical expenses, while Kentucky Tough Mitch lays bills on his desk. Our rural families, Kentucky Tough. They live with crumbling infrastructure, do not have access to broadband, in some cases even clean drinking water. What has our Kentucky Tough senator done for them? Well, there was an infrastructure bill set to get a vote in the House, and Mitch killed it before the Senate even got the bill. Quoting Mitch on the Senate floor, "So naturally, this nonsense is not going to go anywhere in the Senate. It will just join the list of absurd House proposals that were only drawn up to show fidelity to the radical left." Team Mitch promotes the sale of their Kentucky Tough t-shirt. It is red and white. Most Kentuckians prefer blue and white. Is Mitch Kentucky Tough for veterans? According to news reports, he was in the military for a short period of time. Now there are numerous bills on his desk related to veteran issues, including H.R. 95, the Homeless Veteran Families Act. Mitch does not have the toughness to even allow all senators to opine on this bill. Meanwhile, our Kentucky Tough veterans suffer. Kentucky Tough. The Kentucky motto is "United we stand, divided we fall." Mitch is not Kentucky Tough because he refuses to work across the aisle. It is his way or nothing. Mitch is proud of his Grim Reaper moniker, proud enough to sell Grim Reaper t-shirts on his campaign website. Anything for $1. On the other hand, Kentuckians support measures that will reduce the cost of medicine, take care of the opioid crisis, but Mitch is in the pocket of the drug companies. Not Kentucky Tough, but certainly money and power tough. After instituting a $1.5 trillion tax cut and signing off on a $675 billion budget for the Department of Defense, Mitch said the only way to lower the record-high federal deficit would be to cut entitlement programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So Mitch wants to take away benefits from 20% of Kentucky's population, from seniors. Kentucky Tough, or just plain old tough luck for Kentuckians. We can send the pseudo Kentucky Tough senator into retirement on November 3rd, 2020. Exercise your right to vote and vote to ditch Mitch.
This partisan impeachment will end today.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
I love that. Kentucky Tough, Mitch. What a joke that guy is. Only 8 more days, people. 8 more days to get rid of that joke. It's bad. He's a bad joke. He's not really that funny. Truly. Which actually, that reminds me of the Embedded series that I sold earlier. Do check it out. There's a great story about his first campaign, right? Second campaign, his first campaign for Senate, and that whole bloodhound dogs, ad. And somebody made the point, like, look, Mitch does these ads where he tries to make himself funny by kind of having a funny ad, but at the core of it, it's not funny. It's probably a lie. And he's not funny whatsoever. So it's just this kind of transference of humor, because people don't really want a humorless individual representing them in Congress. But it does seem like at this point, he's mostly just given up on that. And of course, when we've seen his sense of humor, it's horrible. And if you've seen our ad, that, laughing about people dying and that you not caring enough to provide any sort of relief for them, not actually funny. Anyway, moving on, we've got our big interview, and again, super excited to have this gentleman with us on Moscow Mitch Monday, even if it was recorded on, Moscow Mitch another day. But Josh Hicks took some time off the campaign trail to sit down with Kimberly and I over Zoom and chat a bit about his race. We're going to open with one of his ads, and you'll see in the interview, I do give him kudos for his ads because I do think they're great. And then, so we're gonna have the interview, and then we'll be back to chat with you.
Andy Barr's taking this money from pharmaceutical companies and from healthcare companies because that's who he's going to work for. They didn't give him that money because he was funny at a dinner party. They gave him that money because they wanted something from him. So when that health insurance company can deny my mother when she spends a couple days in the emergency room, they paid Andy Barr for that privilege. And if they came to me, I'd tell them, don't come in here with your corporate PAC money because I'm not interested. And I'm going to go to work for the regular people who you've caused to suffer. I'm Josh Hicks, and I approve this message.
Very excited this evening to have with us Josh Hicks. And if you don't know, you ought to know, Josh Hicks is running for Congress in the 6th District of Kentucky, which is where I live, Lexington, Kentucky, and the counties surrounding it. And as you all know, we are the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, so we're very focused on Mitch McConnell's retirement. And why in the world, then, would we be talking to Josh Hicks? So we're going to try to kind of connect those dots for you folks. But first off, just welcome, Josh. Thank you so much for joining us. And what does your sign say today?
Well, Aaron, first of all, thank you all for having me, and thanks to the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee for the work you do. Let's see. My protest sign today would say corporate corruption kills, because I believe that to be true. And nothing more pertinent to have directed that sign than my opponent's debacle, where he refused to return some money from Purdue Pharma, who recently pled guilty to criminal acts for poisoning communities with opioid pills. And so corporate corruption kills is the message that speaks to me today, and I think it probably speaks to those who oppose Mitch McConnell's agenda as well.
Yeah, clearly Mitch McConnell is a guy who, the only problem with, tainted money is they're tainted enough of it, right? Like, that guy does not have a problem accepting money from the worst people. But tell me, so what's the connection? Like, why are you a natural guest for Moscow Mitch Monday? What's the connection between Andy Barr and Mitch McConnell?
Well, as everyone may or may not know, Andy Barr was one of Mitch McConnell's interns. And so Andy Barr owes a tremendous debt to Mitch McConnell for sort of springboarding his political career that has now spanned more than 15 years, and been for the benefit of Mr. Barr and Mr. McConnell, but been to the detriment of Kentuckians, not only here in the 6th District, but all across this state. And so I look forward to taking down one of those interns and making sure we show Mitch that his control of this state is absolutely not going to continue for one day more.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I like to call them Mitch's minions, right? So the folks he spawned into the political landscape, like, they're not as bumbling or as cute, and the actual impacts they have are horrible. But, Dan Cameron obviously is one of Mitch's minions, and we're seeing the fallout of that right now in a wholly unprepared and unqualified individual ends up running, the Attorney General's office solely because of his political connections. When we've got Secretary of State Michael Adams, he also comes from Mitch's kind of bloodline, right? If you're looking at horse racing, there's like a clear connection for these folks. And despite his own political instincts, we've actually gotten decent elections thanks to, I think, our governor. Like, he gets not nearly enough credit for forcing a good plan out of the Secretary of State's office. I think that Andy Barr has learned a lot from Mitch McConnell. And the number one thing that I think, unfortunately, he has learned is to just attack mercilessly his opponent. The attack ads that have been leveled against you are just astounding. Right. And I think it's problematic for a whole number of reasons, right? Because these congressional races, people don't know much about them, right? There's not a lot of free media coverage on the race. So a lot of people, disengaged voters, all they know is what they've seen on TV. And to your credit, your ads are phenomenal. I think they do a really good job of telling your story. But Andy's, they're all attack ads. What's your favorite of Andy's attack ads that you've learned new things about yourself, I'm sure, as you watch them?
My favorite has been the consistent theme of believing that a lie backed by millions of corporate dollars can defeat the actual truth. So when he attacks my service as a Marine and suggests that I don't know how to keep Americans safe, when he attacks my service as a police officer and says I don't know how to keep our communities safe, those are two things that get me fired up, because my background and Barr's background couldn't be any more different. My demonstrated dedication to public service and his demonstrated dedication to corporate interests are sort of the biggest contrast in this race. And the second piece of that I think is so harmful, that although I think that there's a lot of frivolity there and a lot of kind of garbage nonsense, the second harmful thing that Andy Barr obviously learned very well from Mitch McConnell is that lies are a foundational part of their campaign platform. And let me tell you, it's a tremendous shame, not only that you would have someone in a position of public trust willing to break that public trust for personal benefit, but it's a shame that we have someone who spent 8 years in the House of Representatives, 6 of those years in the majority, 2 of those years with a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and a Republican-led House of Representatives. And still he doesn't have a laundry list of accomplishments for Kentucky to run on. That's a shame. And it shows and speaks to the failure he has been as a representative for the people of Kentucky. I'm sure for him, it has been very successful. But for the people of Kentucky, it's been devastating. And it's what I look forward to reversing starting January of 2021.
So, Kimberly, you have any questions for Josh?
Yes, Josh. We just love you in Kentucky and beyond. I'm in Delaware, and they've heard of you here in Delaware, which is amazing. And you have support here as well. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your service, your military service to this country, and we really appreciate that. However, I would like to ask a really big question that's been on my mind, and what I've been hearing is that Barr is also using the untimely passing of his wife to garner more sympathy for his campaign. Do you think that's been working?
You know, I'll say this. I can't imagine what the loss of his wife has done. I'm very fortunate to have not experienced that particular type of trauma in my life. And so I have a really hard time putting myself in a position to try to understand or be able to sort of figure out the best way forward from there, because I can't do it. I just can't put myself in those shoes. And I think from what I have heard, there have been people who do have sympathy for him, but there are far more people concerned with the policies he's pursued in Washington, D.C. and the way that he's sold people out to corporations. That has been the main thrust of what people have told me about why they believe Andy Barr needs to go.
Yeah, that's great. I think, so we were just talking earlier, you've got an amazing biography. I feel like it's this kind of Horatio Alger kind of like amazing story coming from a rural background, not a silver spoon in your mouth. You've got, coming to what I think play football in college and then not finishing because, that's my nephew did that exact thing. And going to join the Marines, deploying from a trailer, and then coming back, becoming family man and a police officer, and then putting yourself through law school and becoming an attorney. And I think it's all amazing. I mean, this is fantastic. You inspire me, Josh. It's great that this story is out there, and I think it inspires a lot of people, and it should as we tell it. But one thing that and it gets back to the attack ads. You're a successful attorney in Lexington. I hear the ads, the radio ads, right? Hicks and Funston. I do not know how to spell your partner's last name, but I hear it on the radio. And this has been a central part of Andy Barr's attacks against you, right? And it's part of like, if you're conservative, I guess somehow the idea that, there's a liberal mob out there and they're in cahoots with trial lawyers and Nancy Pelosi all together, right? So tell me why, and I know, and I can tell you, but it's your interview, we're interviewing you. So you tell me, why is that legal piece actually a part of what you're doing?
And it's been a shame because, I'm kind of everything that Andy Barr pretends that he's in favor of. A veteran, a former law enforcement officer, someone who came from a hard-scrabble background, who worked very hard and became a successful small business owner. And yet throughout the course of this campaign, all he has been able to do is try to tear me down, right? Tear down all the things he claims in public that he supports, including my law firm. But let me tell you, I am proud to do the work that I do. because we represent individuals, people, living and breathing human beings who have been harmed through the negligence of others. And in a couple of those cases, they were bad corporate actors who did bad things that hurt people. And I'm very proud to be able to help those families and to be able to help those people when they've been harmed that way. I think Barr feels very threatened by someone like me because I worked for every single thing I got. And I made sure that I'm not beholden to anybody. None of the pictures of Nancy Pelosi that he puts on these ads to try to tell lies about me have any effect on me, because I didn't run this race because of Nancy Pelosi. I didn't run this race because of the Democratic Party. I ran this race because Andy Barr is a sellout and a liar who has broken the public trust and needs to be removed from a position of power. That's why I'm in this race. And so all of the things he says about me just further highlights his failure. Because if I am here, Aaron, 8 years later, running against an opponent, and I am not instead running about the rural broadband initiatives I brought home, the efforts I've made in combating the opioid epidemic with real reform and real treatment, the opportunities I've helped provide through public education, the opportunities I've helped provide through workforce development and infrastructure improvements all around this district, then please feel free to call me out on it, Aaron, and tell me, Josh, 8 years ago, you told us you were going to deliver these things, and today, all you can do is run negative ads. I will promise you, you will not have to have me on for that interview, because I will either get it done or I will tell everybody exactly who stood in my way, exactly who stopped me, so that we can be better informed moving forward. I don't believe that lying, I don't believe that building a position of power on lies and abusing the public trust serves anybody. It certainly doesn't serve our democracy, and it should be disqualifying for folks like Andy Barr.
That's great. Yeah, I concur. I would hope that, when you come from a position where you've been in the party in power for a lot of your political career, that you should have delivered for your district. And, time and time again, he doesn't have anything to point to. All he's got is, beating up on you, trying to define you in ways that, divide our district even further. And ignores your absolute background, your impeccable background, your actual biography. Like, oh yeah, you're part of the liberal mob, which is why you were a police officer from Eastern Kentucky. Like, it makes no sense. There's no way you can believe, the truth and what he tells you. But he's like just banking on the fact that not enough people know the truth, and he can sway people with garbage and lies, and it's infuriating. I don't know how you deal with it. I get so angry, like I need to step away from the television because I want to keep my television, right? And it's like it is outrageous what he's putting on there, and I think we need to think through the truth in advertising and in political advertising, because what is happening right now is so just out of bounds in terms of having no tethering to reality and what people are telling us. Kimberly, got any final question for Josh?
I think he has handled Andy Barr's attacks with such class, truth, and determination. Josh, being in Eastern Kentucky and seeing what's going on in Kentucky with the leadership, or should I say non-leadership, of Mitch McConnell, what are some of the things that you intend to do in your district and for the host state to bring unity, to bring respect, the respectability factor between your constituents and the police departments? And also the second part of the question is, what are your feelings about the FOP? Do you feel that they have entirely too much power at this point?
Kimberly, I appreciate you asking that question. Let me start with the first piece of that. What do I intend to do to heal the rift between communities, police departments? Frankly, it's going to be similar to the way we heal this political rift in our country. And for me, what that means is engaging with people who have a dedication to public service. Because if you are truly dedicated and laser focused on the public service aspect of any constitutional authority that you're granted, then you will, instead of seeking to divide people, seek to unite people. Because being a public servant means serving everyone equally. And I think it's not only in our political arena that we have gotten far away from the idea that we are all one Kentucky, we're all one America, and that although we might have ideological differences, there is a ground for us to stand as Kentuckians, as Americans, to talk to one another in a civil way, not engage in the lies, not engage in all the rhetoric, not engage in all the garbage that politics have become infested with. Similarly, we heal differences between communities and their police departments the same way. We make sure that we have community-led police departments that focus on community policing principles and that feel like a part of the community, feel like they're from there, of there, and that serving that community is important to them. If we can bring that back and bring that mentality into focus, because I'm sure there are plenty of police officers that do have that focus, and so we should lift them up and support them. And for those who have forgotten that service, we need to make sure they either get their behavior corrected or they move on to a different career. And we bring communities, police departments together in that way with actual, we have to sit down and talk to one another. This cannot become some us versus them battle, because what we really need is an us working together battle. That's what we need, similar to our coronavirus response, right? We need to heal some of the division. And we only do that through appropriate action, through listening, through taking steps to make people feel valued, the Black community feel valued, rural communities feel valued. If we do that, dedicate ourselves to public service, it helps heal that rift. The FOP in particular, I'm a 17-year Fraternal Order of Police member. I have been since I was a police officer. And so I am a big fan of organized labor. I love the fact that labor can organize. I think we should be promoting more of that. But similarly, where you have folks that are not dedicated to the mission, which should be public service and promoting public service and looking out for the interests of police officers that had frankly been ignored, because there was a presidential budget that cut $460 billion in law enforcement funding that Andy Barr was in favor of. There have been numerous attempts, some successful, to separate out police officer pensions across this state and make them 25 years instead of 20 years, and then put them in a hybrid plan instead of a defined benefit plan. Those are not my politics. Those are things that I would like to work on behalf of, so that there is not a sense and where we find FOP leaders that don't have that same dedication to getting those things involved, but instead want to play politics. We have to make sure those voices are instead converted to voices who are advocating for labor rights and labor rights for police officers that make sense, but also advocating for changes where there have to be changes. If we're not all pulling the same direction, we're pulling apart. And unfortunately, that only benefits a small handful of folks who can keep us divided, so that we don't see what's happening in our government, we don't see what's happening abroad, and we don't see what's happening around us. I think we have to make a concerted effort, put service at our center, engage in servant leadership, bring folks together, and start solving some of these hard problems that we're seeing on film, we're seeing in court cases, and we're seeing in the media every single day.
That's great. And I know we don't have you for too much longer. I know you've got a pretty active campaign schedule and it's a big final push, but I want to just say, it's interesting to watch, the conversation happening right now in our country. So we're racked by, coronavirus. We're going into not the third peak because we never actually, leveled off. Right. But it's going to be a rough winter. All experts, they said this at the beginning. Nothing has changed despite garbage information that's been put out by our ostensible leaders. And to hear Andy Barr talk about coronavirus, it's like he saved the day because he got some, shipment of PPE into the district, right? Well, of course, why did it take heroic measures to get a shipment of PPE? Oh, because there was no federal leadership. And states were having to outbid each other to get necessary safeguards, right? So it was just a cluster at the highest degree and the highest level of leadership. And he did nothing to help that. And in fact, if you look at his track record on these relief bills, he's not been a useful actor, right? So we right now have a situation where the House has passed the HEROES Act. I don't know what your position is on the HEROES Act. Labor has been behind it. Everyone's behind it in terms of the Democratic coalition pushed it. Passed early on, before the summer. And then the Senate felt no sense of urgency, to quote Mitch McConnell, said that states and cities should just go the bankruptcy route. And if you want to talk about defunding the police, which, apparently is the only thing Democrats have said, because that's all the attack ads are talking about, is how the Democrats want to defund the police. You know what defunds the police is when states and cities have to go bankrupt and have to lay off staff. That's who actually gets defunded. That's how the police get defunded. And your opponent hasn't really said a lot about this, except for all the things the House are doing is part of this liberal wish list, and isn't, so tell me a little bit about what would you do? How would you deal with this if you were in DC right now, which you'd have to be dealing with a very divided. You got the House has passed the HEROES Act. The White House says they want a pretty robust response right now, and the Senate has said don't pass anything. Mitch McConnell has said, quote, do not cut a deal with the White House, because that is not going to help us politically. Right. He has no sense of urgency. He doesn't care about what people are going through right now. The millions of people going into poverty, the millions of people who are food insecure, who might be put in the streets, and the cities and the states who are going to be going bankrupt if relief doesn't come. Like, how do you deal with that mess, Josh?
Well, first and foremost, you go in with a true dedication to finding a solution, first and foremost, to the coronavirus, not just the funding relief, because what we really have to do is present a united federal front. Here's how we combat the coronavirus. Here's how we stop the spread. Here's how we bring our death rate down. We're losing between 500 and 1,000 Americans every single day. I think we had more than 20 deaths of coronavirus here in Kentucky yesterday. And so we obviously haven't done a good job solving it. We haven't done a good job uniting and presenting a united message about how dangerous this thing is and how we can pull together as a Commonwealth, we can pull together as a country, and we can take it head on. If we get that accomplished, and we will, then we can turn to our legislative efforts. And our legislative efforts have to be laser focused. It has to be for small businesses, for the unemployed, for people on the margins who are, as you said, food insecure, for people who've lost healthcare coverage, for people who are struggling to put food on the table. And the failure to get one of those done, I think, speaks even further to Mitch McConnell's malfeasance, because him leaving us to fend for ourselves early in the pandemic and forcing states like Kentucky to bid against states like New York and the federal government with its unlimited buying power is unconscionable. But we are where we are. And unless we pull together, present a united front against this thing, bring down our cases, bring down our positivity rate, bring down our death rate, get everybody in a position where the legislation is actually going to be effective, that's how we're going to start to solve this thing, to turn it back around and then get relief into the hands of people who really, really need it right now.
And one final question. So I hear Andy Barr is all about protecting pre-existing conditions. What's your take on that?
My take on that is Andy Barr has proven himself over and over again to be a liar. And that is one of the most egregious lies he has told in this entire campaign. Because not only will he not protect in the future, he has never pretended to protect in the past. And if he had, Aaron, a plan, a bill, a piece of healthcare legislation that would protect people with pre-existing conditions, he would be waving it around right now instead of lying about me and his own position. So I'll say that I believe his willingness to lie to maintain political power should be disqualifying. Shouldn't have anybody in a position of public trust who's willing to lie directly to our faces.
Yeah, I concur. So what we have to say goodbye to you, but any final thoughts you want to give people as we ended this last week, this final sprint? Anything you want to tell people?
Just want to say first and foremost, Kimberly, Aaron, thank you all for having me on. It truly is a pleasure to be in this race. And anybody out there who has not voted yet, please go vote. And if you've already voted, call all your friends and family, call everybody you've ever known in your entire life. Tell them, get out and vote, because this election is going to be incredibly important. And we've got a huge opportunity to shape the direction of this country in the right way, to make sure we're taking care of people over corporate profits, to make sure that we're addressing their needs, and to make sure we have folks who will tell us the truth going forward. Thank you all so very much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Good luck on the campaign trail.
Yes, sir.
A lot of folks were struggling even before this pandemic, struggling to pay their health insurance premiums, struggling to put gas in their truck, and struggling to put food on their table. I'm sick and tired of seeing Wall Street and wealthy corporations buy our politicians. I'm running because, look, we don't have to just sit back and take this. We can have a voice for Main Street, for rural communities, for folks who need good paying jobs, for family farms. That's the kind of voice I'm going to be. I'm Josh Hicks, and I approve this message.
Why we're doing this and why we think it's so important to revisit healthcare. We are persisting in our efforts because we have to. So, repealing and replacing Obamacare. We know Obamacare can't be fixed.
Hey, so that was a great interview with Josh. Thanks again, Josh, for being on the show. We do have some really sad, not unanticipated, but just disappointing news. So Amy Coney Barrett was just confirmed to the Supreme Court on a 52-48 vote. Only one Republican senator chose to go along with the McConnell rule, which was Senator Collins. Murkowski held up a procedural vote ahead of time, but ultimately went along with confirming Amy Coney Barrett. So, yeah, it's a bummer. All the stuff we just were talking about earlier, it's absolutely true. So all the threats that this Supreme Court, this incredibly conservative Supreme Court, will bring to our society, it's real. It's game on, people, right? So she's in. She's not going anywhere. It's a matter of how do we respond. So I hope that everyone responds with every fiber of their being and every moment they can spare to dump Mitch McConnell and remove him from his position of privilege and power, because he has shown that power is without any ethics, without any moral compass. It is 100% about maintaining and building that power for the conservative overlords that he serves. Corporate America had a big win today. Let's make sure that we have a big win in 8 days. All right, so we are now heading on to, we have one final thing I wanted to show you. So our producer, Ken, has done some great work. This is a fun ad that he did on the Andy Barr race. He's updated it so it is accurate for this race, but he did it 2 years ago. So let's leave you with that one.
Did you see where the bankers gave $500,000 to Andy Barr?
Why would they give $500,000 for a candy bar?
No, Andy Barr, the congressman.
The bankers bought a congressman for $500,000? Congressmen sure ain't worth what they used to be.
No, they didn't buy him, they gave money to his campaign.
I can't understand why they'd buy him champagne.
The campaign, to get him re-elected.
Ain't he already been elected enough?
A lot of us think so.
Why did bankers give him that money? Bankers don't give out money for nothing.
They wanted his help to deregulate the bank. They said big government was watching them too close.
Let me see if I got this straight. They want to give money to congressmen so that they won't watch what the bankers are doing, while the bankers do anything they want with the rest of our money.
Pretty much.
I get it now. Candy bar is a pretty good deal for the bankers.
So long, Candy Bar.
So a really good, kind of funny take on campaign finance reform, which of course we heard about earlier, which of course we talk about a lot on this show because, it's not, it's legalized bribery, right? That's what it is. Like as Josh says in one of his ads, which I think is quite good, he talks about all the money that Andy Barr has taken from the banks and, financial services, pharmaceuticals, right? And they didn't give him that money for being funny at a dinner party. Which I think it's probably pretty accurate. And I doubt that Andy Barr is very funny at a dinner party, my guess. Full disclosure, I've never been to a dinner party with Andy Barr. So he might be flipping hilarious. But I don't think that's why they're giving him the money. All right, so let's go to Kimberly to talk us out, their final segment for the week, and about what we should be doing this week. Kimberly.
Well, remember, committee, we've just got 1 week to win this thing. And now it's been important, but now it's more important than ever. We need to retire Mitch McConnell. What just happened, the breaking news just a moment ago, in addition to all the things that we have talked about week after week after week, we have to save our democracy. Everything is on the ballot. Retire Mitch McConnell. It's time. I will even buy him, yes, I will even buy him a bag of horse manure as his retirement present. Yes, I will spend that money for him and deliver it personally. Retire Mitch McConnell. So, hey, this week could look like this for you. You looked at the MMRC podcast tonight, and we will be having it next Monday as well, the day before the final day of voting. And we've topped 3,100 likes. I have to get to 3,300, you guys. Please invite all your friends, your family, invite everybody. It's so important right now that people get this information. So please do that. So, I really do want to take them out somewhere nice and not, White Castle. So please do that for me. And also, you're going to invite your friends and your family, and you're going to get Mitch out of office. And I hope that you voted.
Yep. There's other opportunities after that too. But I have to just say, you know what I'm buying him? I'm buying him a bunch of those rainbow Oreo cookies, because there's probably some really nasty stuff in it, but it's rainbow. And so you get him the horse manure and we'll decorate it with Oreo cookies, because this is like, I feel sucker punched. Let's be honest. Before I go, I can't even muster my usual energy. I feel sucker punched, even though we knew it's coming. So here's what we got to do. We need to defeat that guy. Tuesday, join us. 5K for KY. We're not done. And we're at the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee. We're not quitting either. We're going to keep this going. We are not done. We are in it till we win it. So make a list. I spoke to someone the other day who literally asked me if this was a presidential election year. So just keep in mind that everything that we take for granted, because we know these things and we live and breathe it, a lot of people out there, maybe even your neighbor, don't. So make a list of 10, 20, 30 more people you can reach out to, you can inform, and you can say, get out to vote. We'll plug you into Empower, a platform that'll help you share different engagement strategies and reach out to them. And then Tuesday, texting on Tuesday, we have through text, and you can in a flash of an eye, reach out to thousands of potential voters for that. This game is not over until it's over. So let's just retake that damn Senate and let's give Mitch out of a job. Wednesday, we're doing Calling for Amy. All right, we're signed up to do it at the MMRC. Get on board, make phone calls, talk to people, because like I said, believe it or not, there are people out there who do not know it's an election year. And with that, I will hand it over.
Hand it over. Thursday, phone calls for Josh Hicks. Josh Hicks. Join MMRC and Progressives for Josh at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. On Zoom and on the phones. And I have a URL for you, so write this down. It's mobilize.us /KYDEMS, KYDEMS /319078 RSVP today. Friday, check in with friends, family, the guy who sells you coffee and he has his mask on, but oh, those dreamy, dreamy eyes. Make sure that they have a plan to vote. Make sure they know why they need to back Amy, and make sure they get to the polls. If you want some talking points to make those conversations, text or DMs easier, join us at Get Empower. That's GETEMPOWER.com /MMRC.
Woo! All right. And now I get to bring us home with the weekend of action, the final weekend. Here's what you should do. Here's what you're doing. What do you mean I should? You're doing this. You're joining us. See us, Senator. Save SCOTUS Saturday, our final campaign protest near Mitch's Lexington office. We've already plugged it. You've heard, Kit tell you that you need to be there. We got Mike Breuer coming. We got State Senator Reggie Thomas. You be there too. 3 to 4:30, Harrodsburg Road and Corporate Drive. And then Sunday, we're going to be joining with the People's Campaign again. We're going to be doing a lit drop Sunday morning. So socially distanced. We don't, knock on doors and ask people to come out. We just leave the literature, like where they need to go to vote, why they need to ditch Mitch. Really good stuff. And in these very high potential voter precincts. So these are precincts that if you drive up turnout, you drive up Democratic votes. Really important, smart, strategic. There's a lot of vote left on the table. We've got to get the vote out. You know that in an average year, 60% of registered voters show up. 60%. voters, of registered voters, right? That's not even 60% of like American citizens 18 and over. That's just the folks who've like gone through the trouble to register. So we got to get people out. The only way Amy wins, the only way Mitch loses is with a very significant turnout. So let's do that. Sunday, it should be a lot of fun. Handing out those, get a little exercise. Who doesn't need a little exercise? You got your COVID weight. You've been inside a lot. Let's go get some exercise and do it with the MMRC for the People's Campaign. And that's what I'll be doing. I'm gonna like do some texting that weekend. I'm gonna do maybe some phone banking. I'm gonna find every action I can do that weekend to make that final push, because I do not want to wake up with regrets on Wednesday morning, right? I want to know that I spent every moment I could on helping ditch Mitch.
Hey, Aaron, can I also put in one more shout out? Franklin County, I got a ton of stuff we can drop. Again, the same way Aaron said before, social distance, masks, put it in the door and go. So if you want to help us out with that, hit us up for that too. I've got tons we can do for the next couple of days.
Well, that's a very powerful week. Did we miss anything? What are you doing this week? I hope you voted. And remember, healthcare is on the ballot. Remember, equality is on the ballot. Remember, voters' rights are on the ballot. Remember, our environment is on the ballot. Everything is on the ballot. And it's between getting rid of Mitch McConnell or sitting at home and allowing him to be the senator and this country's most powerful human being to do what is being done to us right now. So please, every day, this is the last week that we have, and I pray that you will do something every day. So what you're doing, throw it in the comments, put it on Twitter, let us know what you're doing. You know what we're doing, and we would like to see that. Also, want to just talk once again about Ken and Campfire Media. His activist art show, American Exceptionalism, Degenerate Counterculture, and the 100 Seconds Until Midnight will be live for the rest of this month. Do yourself a favor. See this. It's wonderful. It's great. Ken spent a lot of time on this for us to see this beauty and to see this remarkable statement that is being made about our culture right now. Also, I want to let you know that it's going to be at the Lexington Art League at the Loudon House. His artist website is alllowercaseletters.com. Yes, that is the website, www.alllowercaseletters.com. And then you can also see him on Facebook, The Obliquity of the Eclectic. This is a mixed media show, both digital and physical art, that features activism, dissent of local, regional, and national political agendas and concepts. This media was created to sublimate anxiety, fear, lies, hate, and anger since and before Trump. Do we even remember life before Trump? Seems like a distant memory. But also something that you may enjoy, Mitch McConnell will be making cameo appearances there. So I know that you will enjoy it. So you have just a few days to go to the Loudon House and see Ken's remarkable art exhibit there. It's absolutely wonderful and great. So as usual, and as you know, we still need money to do the last minute pushes that we need to do right now. Somebody said, show me the money. I think that was Mr. Nate. Show me the money. We need money to make sure that Mitch McConnell is retired. So you can send that, put a bit of cash in the hat so we can meet our fundraising goal for this particular election, which is the election of your life. So If you would do that, we would kindly appreciate that. And then also, I'm going to leave you with the feel-good hit of the selection cycle. And it is catchy, it's political, it's factual, and you will love it unless you hate classic rock and really love Mitch. And if you really love Mitch, I know you're not looking at this show. So until then, we'll see you next week, and vote and remember what's on the ballot.